All right, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us. If you don't have the agenda right in front of you, it's available on our website. It's a brief agenda. We just wanted to have a chance to introduce ourselves to each other for those that are on the group, and then kind of discuss how we'd like this to proceed going forward. As the circumstances exist. If anybody has problems hearing or anything like that, just talk over somebody and let us know. It's like a few of you are muted. Just so everybody's on the same page, this meeting is being live streamed on the town's Facebook page and on our website, so that citizens can watch the live stream and see what we're up to. And then they can, of course, send comments to us electronically by email if they so choose. So just be aware of that. And it looks like just the folks who are on video participation are actually showing up on the live feed. But the audio from those on the phone will also show up on the live feed, be heard on the live feed as well, so folks can hear you. So with that, you've got three of us here on this screen. You all know who I am, Brandon Dewey, Mayor of Stevensville, and we've got Monica Hoffman, the town clerk here, and Robert, our finance officer. Dominic, you want to start? Why don't we just start with who you are and what organization you represent?
Sure. Dominic Paxinos, commercial loan officer at Rocky Mountain Bank.
Brian?
I'm Jamie Devlin.
Oh, go ahead.
Jamie Devlin. I own A to Z Personnel. I am the president of the Bitterroot Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also council member for Stevensville, Ward 1.
Great.
I'm
Okay.
Bitterroot Disposal, where I'm the district manager for Bitterroot Disposal.
Chris Kelly, I'm assistant marketing manager for HDR Engineering.
Hey, Chris.
I'm Cody Valine, financial advisor with Edward Jones here in Stevensville.
I think you're last, Misty.
I'm Missy, branch manager here with Clearwater Credit Union in Stevie.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think the only person we're missing is, we're missing just 2 people today, and that's okay. We're missing Chris Komar with the Ravalli County Tourism Business Improvement District, and Julie Foster with the Ravalli County Economic Development Authority. So those are the folks that aren't able to attend today, and that's all right. As I explained in an email, I know we're not going to get 100% attendance, so that's just fine. I know this is kind of an awkward setup with the online meeting. Hopefully you guys have got a few of these under your belt. I kind of like to just open it up for conversation and see, now that you've had a chance to kind of think about the economy of Stevensville and maybe think of some ideas that maybe you'd like to see the town carry out to assist businesses. I'd kind of just open it up freely for conversation and see where folks are at and what you would need to kind of help this process.
I can kind of start first. So what we kind of have been putting together is a question and answer for kind of the PPP loan application process, how those funds can actually be used for businesses. It seems to be changing quite frequently, and it's honestly quite a large piece and picture to absorb. So we've been kind of educating ourselves almost on a daily basis with that and extending our education to different businesses. Furthermore, we have also been able to help employees that maybe are needing to understand what the FMLA process looks like, unemployment process, how that works when their company did get approved for a or a PPP loan, what returning back into the workforce looks like, what you can do in the meantime while you're not able to work. So that's a constant moving target too that we have been successful in being able to discuss with employees that are out of work at this time for various reasons.
Jamie, is that Q&A, is that something that you've already put together, or is that something that you think we need to work on pulling together in an entire piece?
I don't have a formal piece.
Okay.
It's just kind of what we've been putting together here. But I definitely think that it is something that's needed for the community. Today alone, we've received several phone calls about just the unemployment process itself. There's a lot of information out there, but it's confusing at best.
Okay.
Hey, Jamie, you are brave for taking that on. It is so changing on an hourly basis. So if you need any help with any of that, we've been dealing with it for about the last 3 weeks, and I know how hard it is. So I would love to be able to help you out if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it's a moving target for sure. It's been webinar after webinar after webinar for, about 3 weeks and sometimes several in one day. I appreciate that, Dominic.
For sure. And the SBA officially ran out of money on Friday morning. So that was, that's been kind of a tough phone call to have with people if they didn't get it in before that. And, we're still getting phone calls wanting people to apply for the program. And unfortunately, SBA doesn't have any money until they pass another stimulus bill.
Sure.
I have a question for you, Jamie.
Yes.
Working for your questionnaire for the employees, are you finding that the employees, are they aware or not aware that their current employer, if they're laid off, doesn't determine the unemployment insurance benefits?
Correct. A lot of people don't understand the process that goes in that, who decides how that works. And furthermore, there's different programs out there right now that just because you're not working does not necessarily mean you get lumped right into unemployment.
I think that's a misconception from the employees being uneducated from that point of view from, their employers, because, one or the other might worry if they have to pay or if they don't have to pay.
Correct. Well, and not just on the employee side of that, right now there's a special information that you can provide to UI that if your employee or if you are an employee that is off due to COVID, the business is not getting rated based on that. So where companies try and keep their UI rates low, this is not going to affect their rate as far as that goes. We will not see a rate increase for people that have applied for unemployment due to COVID.
Okay.
Along those same lines, we've been trying to make sure that there are links for financial assistance options, community resources, more information on the SBA stuff, stimulus check updates, those kinds of things that the IRS is putting out there too. And there's quite a few links to all of that stuff on our main webpage too, if that helps for folks. Those are being updated daily too.
Sure. On the inquiries on PPP and SBA, the SBA loans specifically, Dominic, you said we know they've run out of money on Friday and you're still getting calls. Do you have a sense of what the need still is for this community between your institution and Misty's?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've been to the office, since I've been to Stevensville, so it's kind of hard to judge the feel of the town like you do if you're there every day. But I know that a lot of my clients applied in time and have received stimulus money, which has been great, and they've been very thankful for it. But I don't know at this point. There was some false information out there that was online that said that sole proprietors could apply starting, I think, the 10th of April. Well, at that point in time, it was already over. I mean, it wasn't already over, but most places had already committed as much money as they were going to for the stimulus. So there was some false information. So I know there was some sole proprietors that didn't get in, which unfortunately is a lot of what Main Street America is made up of. So hopefully there's some relief for those people as well.
Okay.
I think same on our side. People are still requesting, they're still getting calls. It's just a matter of going from here, whether there's more stimulus money coming or not for that program.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think to touch on those two pieces we just discussed, that I think the town is certainly willing to, in terms of what Jamie was speaking to, if we need a clearinghouse for those frequently asked questions, I think we could pull something like that together and keep it updated on a regular basis, at least daily during the week. If something changed over the weekend, we'd have to update that Monday. But we tried as best we can with the information we are receiving to keep the information on our business resource page on our website updated. And our hope is that by having this group, maybe we'll keep a better thumb on shifting to changes, and if that information becomes irrelevant, we can take it down. So I don't know if folks have specific frequently asked questions that they'd like people to be aware of, with the question and the answer. If that's the case, I'd voluntold Monica to compile that.
Monica, I would be happy to get together with you. This is Jamie. I don't know. I would be happy to get together with you and work on some question and answer kind of stuff from my aspect of things, if you'd like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Is there a revolving loan fund with the town or the county? Does anyone know?
The town doesn't necessarily have one. At one time, we had some CDBG funding in our economic development fund, and that's been used diversely, but not in a way that has recouped its money back. So our economic development fund is pretty well out of cash. That doesn't mean that the town doesn't have reserves elsewhere that it couldn't use should the council approve something like that. So if they were to approve some sort of a loan program, we could use some reserve funding to do that, as long as we could ensure that we recoup that somehow. I don't know what the county has established. What I've seen from the county is a partnership with Reseda, the Ravalli County Economic Development Authority, and they've primarily been pushing information about SBA out, and they've been partnering with the local institutions to help kind of build whatever framework needs to be built to assist businesses. But I don't know as though I've seen any local governments in the Bitterroot create their own funding programs with what they have.
I don't know. I mean, my experience with them has been several years, and definitely not during a pandemic. But and I'm far from a loan officer, but there might be a purpose if there's funds somewhere.
Off the top of my head, just speaking in terms of what the city has available, the general fund has a 40% reserve of our operating expenses, which equates to what, Robert, about $250,000. And so it's not a huge chunk of change. For some of our very small businesses, it may be helpful. And so that's something we could explore if that's something the group wants to, talk about. We do obviously want to keep some of that money aside just for our own operating cash flow, but because that's what it's designed to do. But if there's a use for it, it would help our economy, then we'd be willing to take that to council if it's a worthwhile cause.
I am aware that there are some local nonprofits that are putting together some, I guess they're funds from donations that then people would apply for, businesses, my understanding, would apply for those to help kind of get through them this time.
Yeah, and one I've seen was put together by Project 59870, a 501c3.
Correct.
And to date, I've not, as of yesterday, I had not seen any donations made to that. And so the town's going to put some energy behind trying to promote that a little bit more better, so people are aware of it. But I don't know what the donating power is of the community right now either.
Yeah, I'm not aware either. I know I tried to get on there. There was an issue with the link for the donate, so I think they're working out the bugs for that. But
Okay. Good to know. What else are people hearing that would be helpful for the town? Is there any other information? I know that Dominic and Misty, through your banks, you're probably hearing more in depth of what folks are going through. But I even think in general purposes, what I think, in dividing this meeting up, I think, we're kind of talking about what can we do now to help folks out. And then I'd like us to pivot to what are the next steps to kind of recovery. If another package comes out of SBA money, that will help with the now issue. Part of the reason, I guess, to shift, the reason this group was created was because the town doesn't have an economic development expert resource to go to anymore with the closure of Main Street. Ordinarily, we'd rely on that downtown association to kind of help with this effort. And I don't know if that's something that this group wants to discuss in a way that maybe a group like that we need to explore reestablishing something like that more long term. And then what any other ideas there are to kind of guide us through in a more long-term way.
Sure. An interesting little nugget that just came across my thing here is a deal with Trump administration. Congress was just reached $484 billion that will help replenish the PPP program. So if in fact that's true, I think for now and future, that we just work together to make the businesses in Stevensville aware of how that works. And like Dominic, you had spoke of false information. That's a killer in this area. The more information that we can put forth that is beneficial and true, the more of our local businesses can take that and kind of use it to the best of their abilities.
Oh, that's absolutely right. I mean, any extra money that can be handed out is great. If that just came through, that's wonderful news for everybody that was in process when the money ran out and it sort of stopped everything in its tracks. So with that being out there, that means that Rocky Mountain Bank and every other bank can start processing their applications again and hopefully get money into everybody's hands that applied.
Mm-hmm. And then I think it's our job. I mean, we can't obviously regulate what they use those funds from, but businesses, particularly in, Stevensville, I think once they receive those funds, the education piece that comes after what those 8 weeks look like after funding is crucial to the future of their business.
Oh, I agree 100%, Jamie. That's perfect because it's unfortunately they put $1 trillion into the economy, which is great, but it's really up in the air as to what the next 8 weeks are going to look like. Or 8 weeks from now, when everybody has to either pay it back or get forgiven. I mean, that's one of the big misconceptions is that everybody thinks that every dime that they borrow is going to be automatically forgiven. And we hope that's true. But if it's not, we need to be prepared to have payments on that stuff as well.
Well, and furthermore, it doesn't just automatically turn into a loan. There's legalities and rules and regulations you have to follow to not be penalized, even more so in a criminal level for not using it exactly for what the funds are supposed to be used for, whether you turn it into a loan or not.
That is 100% correct. Thanks for saying that.
So on that note, do the institutions that are making the loans, do those folks have the resources in terms of staff to help businesses through that process? Not necessarily the loan application process, you guys have that covered, but in terms of making sure or helping businesses with making sure their documentation is put together so that when the 8 weeks runs out, they're ready to go, and that process is as smooth for them as possible? Or is that something that is in need in our community where there's a specific person designated to kind of help people with that, businesses specifically with those issues?
When this rolled out, basically there was only 2 parameters, which is you had to have payroll on the 15th of February and you had to have less than 500 employees. So everybody applied for it and is now getting their money, and the rules haven't automatically been set. So people are now going, okay, it's up to the banks to decide and do an audit on the financials to make sure that those people are going to get their money back or to get forgiven that money that they got so they didn't have to make payments on it. And that's where the worry is, do banks have the sources and the staff to do audits on, like with us, over 8,000 submissions? I guess, Brandon, to answer your question, I don't really know that. I don't know if one person in the town to help people through it would be enough.
Okay. I guess where I was going with that is if there's like we're talking, a clearinghouse of information, like with these Q&As and all those pieces, but if there's a specific liaison that's needed, then the town would go, we can go find funding for that someplace. That there's probably a program out there someplace to help support those endeavors. It's a unique way to approach it, where it's not burdening the financial institutions, and it's that, I kind of think about, we have an individual that comes to town hall from the state once a month, and they meet with veterans and discuss their VA benefits, and that type of person seems like what may be needed in this, where people have a resource to go to walk them through the complicated pieces, but to say, here's step 1, 2, and 3 for you. Now take this to your bank, and go through the next process.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else, you guys, that you want to discuss on what we're kind of around now, or any thoughts or ideas? You guys, anything?
I think one thing that we need to keep in mind is right now everything is changing so fast that this cannot be like a one-size-fits-all shebang of putting this together, right? We're going to have to be like clay and very, very movable in directions that we go. We have no idea looking down the pike what any of this is going to look like. So I think we need to remember that and kind of remind, our community of that as well. What we know today to be absolutely true and concrete, in 3 days from now may be obsolete and looking completely different.
Sure.
And I think it's going to be very beneficial to have some key people that are following that at snake, so to speak, so that the question and answers can constantly be updated and everybody could be educated, right? If we look at this and try and formulate everything for right now today, that's fine, but we're going to be changing it pretty regularly.
Right.
And our model for today, I bet you anything is not going to be the same model when we're looking at July 1st with an end date, right? It's just going to be different.
The other aspect that pulls in, which I think that's very true. I mean, it is going to be constantly moving, but is also making sure that we're sticking in the town, everything sticking on the general advice side of things. Because as soon as we start getting into recommendations, that's when we're opening ourselves up to liability and legalities of all of that good stuff. Which I don't think any of us want to deal with someone taking our question and answer sheet as the end all be all and making a mistake and coming back at us.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Exactly.
The intent is that it's given as advice. It's a resource. It's an information resource, but it by no means means it's the gospel.
Which, going back to what you were talking about, Brandon, if we could find someone that does have that, I don't know if certification would be the right word, but has the ability to then on a monthly basis or via a platform provide actual recommendations where the liability is shifting from us to them, I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Shifting gears a bit, I'm curious to hear from you. The town has not necessarily, we've left it up to the folks that hold those, but shifting to the other pieces of our economy and what drives us going into summer, we have festivals and those types of things coming up. And so I'd be curious to hear from you what, perfect, Christine's joining us. We obviously don't, this is hard to verbalize. We obviously don't know what July looks like, what August looks like, any of those things. We're kind of flying into this blind. But I guess I'd be curious to get your sense of the impact that those events have on our community and how you envision maybe this summer going, and if there's resources that need to be put into promoting Stevensville in a different way than we have in the past. And this kind of speaks more to the recovery piece of what we're looking at.
Well, Brandon, do we know if any of those events are still going to be held this summer?
Western Days has been canceled.
Okay. Obviously, Creamery is the one that everybody's kind of thinks about, right?
Right. Creamery is for now on. We're kind of waiting to see what happens, of course. So that's been the challenge. And then, we also have things like the farmers market, which, that's, I think, been postponed until further notice as well, from my understanding. So yeah, I mean, really the only thing besides, 4th of July, that's still also kind of up in the air. We're not sure what that looks like. Which makes, I guess, and makes promotions for the community, difficult when we don't have festivals set in stone. So I'd be curious to hear if there's any ideas of other ways we can promote downtown Stevensville or Stevensville as an entire community and its businesses in the absence of having those festivals. And I guess that's said, keeping in mind that the governor plans to phase out restrictions of stay-at-home orders. To date, we've not heard anything different.
So hi, everybody. It's Chris Komar. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to be late.
You're okay. You got in at the right time, Chris.
I think so. So I'll just add this from what I'm gleaning from. So I'm the chairman of the Valley County Tourism Business Improvement District. We have visit bitterrootvalley.com, which is yours, all of our destination marketing organization at the very local level. Then we relate to Glacier Country for region and of course the state. So we're really working hard to get out the right messages, which is basically love us from afar and encouraging people to dream about coming to Montana, but everybody is full halt and inviting anyone here. And I think that, there's a lot of data collection going on. The state is for free analyzing our websites to help us figure out who's coming here and what they're looking at and what they're thinking about. There's actually a survey attached, so we might have a little more, the psychographics of the new traveler are something that we really need to better understand. What are people going to be willing to do? What kinds of activities are they going to be looking to engage in, at least in the short term and the near term? So we don't know any of that yet. So I think, I also think that, just my personal opinion, there's this really razor's edge of being able to support our local businesses and yet inviting people who might bring harm. And I haven't parsed out yet in my own mind, because there's just not enough information out there, when that's going to be open, when we're going to be open, when we're going to feel free to invite people to come to our communities who may be bringing stuff from another community. I think that's going to be huge, and I don't think anyone knows how to parse that out right now. But when you ask what you can do, I would think, when you had the Main Street, you had a vibrant website, and I think that's what people are doing, is just trying to keep a vibrant presence with a lot of visuals and a lot of dream about us. Don't stop thinking about coming to Montana, but don't come right now.
And the town has taken over the old, when Main Street closed down, the town took over that website. And we've slowly been trying to keep it updated, and it's taken a bit of training, but I think that's probably a weak spot we're in right now, is keeping that fresh and relevant.
Yeah, and then, maybe not a lot is needed. Maybe just to hold that site and create just a simpler new one that is more inspirational, rather than, that one was very complicated, a lot of information. So, yeah. I think the most important thing is to keep inviting people to think about Stevensville and enjoying it when the time is right. And there's a lot of good material out there for content. It doesn't have to be complicated, but.
Sure. Chris, is there an idea of when, I know you said they're doing some research as to what does the new traveler look like, and what do those psychographics entail? Is there an idea of when that information will be kind of in a digestible format?
Well, they've agreed to analyze our websites through the end of the year. So,
okay.
Now, mind you, they're thinking about international and everything else. What I've heard is, anecdotally, is that we think it's going to be the rubber tire market, the drive market, and we think people will be resonating with this get into nature thing. So we have asset there, as in the Bitterroot and Stevensville. We are outdoors, but what all we're being told is be ready to capitalize on, which was already a strong market, our drive market.
Right. I agree.
Tibbet board would be really interested in talking more with Stevensville and other players in our valley about how the Visit BitterrootValley.com website could be of assistance.
Yeah, that was, to be honest, I think that's great where there's an opportunity for collaboration, because to be honest, up until just recently, Chris, I forgot about that website.
Yeah,
Of course,
well, I think it's 8 years old, and we're really in a big growth phase. And in order to move forward, we must have engagement with our community, and not just lodging owners, but
right.
everybody who's involved in serving travelers.
Okay.
So offline, let's chat and see. Take a look at what we've got and see how it can be made better. I mean, Stevensville's, our communities are featured there, but I think it could be more robust for sure.
Sure, and it would probably fill the weaknesses that we currently have. So it's collaborative.
Jamie?
Oh, go ahead.
Jamie? Are you there, Jamie?
Fingers, I think so. I hit the wrong button.
You're good. I hear you. Can we plan on meeting or getting together later this week? Are you available?
Let's do it Friday.
Okay. Will do. Thanks.
That was easy. Cool.
You bet.
So for the sake of brevity and letting everyone move on with their days, is there anything for the good of the order before we kind of wrap up that anybody wants to touch on that was discussed so far? Does a weekly meeting make sense for us, or do you want to do it on an as needed basis, or do you want to do, I guess I'd be curious to hear from you all as to, to provide updates and to make sure information is fresh. And I have a few notes on my tablet here of things I want to look into for resources to bring back to you folks to run ideas by. So I'd be curious to hear what your expectation is for meetings.
I like the idea of weekly.
Okay.
It's Chris, me too. Only conversation and pulling, collaborating our ideas are going to really yield fruit.
Especially with all the changes happening
Right.
so far.
I'm
Go ahead.
I'm good with weekly.
Okay. Does this time and day work for everybody, or is there something that works better? Because I'm fine leaving it at 1 o'clock on, what's today, Tuesday? It requires you to keep track of what day it is. I know, I'm sorry.
Good for me.
Okay.
It works for me.
Let's plan on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. That's consistent. If for some reason that's not going to work for somebody, or the whole group just can't meet on a Tuesday, just let Monica know. We can reschedule it. But for now, we'll just plan on getting back together next Tuesday. Yeah, no, I think that's good. Is there anything else before I close down? All right. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time and what you're doing for our community. It's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan.
Take care.
Thanks.